Americans are dumb. Englishmen are dumb. How many top American and English coaches are there at the professional level? The issue with Americans is that they are impatient. Americans love their 1, 2, 3 steps, simple steps. They want an easy, visible process. The kids in America are the same. An MLS next kid is no more special than another top competitive player. Americans are number one in confidence, but 15th in math. Our lifestyle provides us with such a convenient life, we don't even have to think about anything critically. American coaches are given a long term methodology, and after 1 year of no success, they revert back to their old methods that don't work but give them short term winning results. Americans are paying 3 to 6 thousand a year and want an immediate, obvious return on their investment, which results in impatience when things are done the right way. You have to be willing to lose players because of parents. All these things that I just went through were given to me by an American that lives in Spain and that has been working in Spain for a youth soccer club. And he is an analyst, he is a scout for this Spanish club. And when I spoke with this person, it made so much sense as far as why the American youth system is so bad and why, despite the resources we have, despite the wealth of different international coaches we have, it still produces poor results given the number of players that we have on a global level. And this guy opened my eyes in so many ways with some of these comments. One of the biggest things that probably caught your attention too was when he said Americans are dumb and Englishmen are dumb. And that is honestly going to be the topic of this podcast. Are Americans dumb? Are Englishmen dumb? Is the lack of intelligence preventing Americans from producing top players? On the Englishmen, that's more of the coaches at the professional level. But for this topic today, it's, are Americans dumb? Is that why we cannot produce top players? Is that why we can't figure out what to do? Is that why Americans have to leave and go to another country in order to develop top talent? Because we're just dumb. And I thought about this, and I don't think it's so much that we're dumb, although on the surface it can come across that way to other countries or people from other countries and continents. What I what I believe it is Americans live life in such a way that it's so convenient. Everything comes so quickly without little thought. I mean, we have all this technology, all this stuff that does thinking for us. We don't even think anymore. And I think, and it's not necessarily technology per se, it's just the way things come so easily to us that we don't even have to think critically. And then on top of that, we have this notion or perception, which may be true on some level, that we're the best country in the world, quote unquote. This is what our issue is that our lifestyle in America and our perception of how great we are prevents us from being the best. And I'm going to go over some points, several points, and this is not just about soccer. This is beyond soccer, because on this topic, when we look at where American soccer is, youth soccer, we have so many delusions. There are, believe it or not, I remember talking to this one. FC Dallas coach, and this is not a knock on FC Dallas because this is just one coach that said it out of the whole club. So this is not a knock on FC Dallas. Just this one coach. I told him that I wanted to create a community where we can help develop high talent consistently on a global level. And he said we're already there. And then I was so shocked. You know when you're so shocked by what someone says, you just leave it at that. But I questioned him on it, and he said, "Oh well, look at our MLS. We got MLS next, all that stuff." But when you look at it at the global level, at the highest level, we're not there. In America, we can type in a search in Google without any thought process. Click on a search, and that'll do all the thinking for us. We don't even take time to think about it. We whenever we use Chat GPT, we just enter in something and it just gives us the answer. Uh, you with calculators, enter in a problem, just gives us an answer. We look at social media. We look at Instagram. Because someone has a high follower account, we think everything they say is the truth because they have a lot of followers. What they say must be the truth. We're not even going to analyze it. We're not even going to critique it. And we're always on our phone, whether it's Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. We don't even think. We don't. Anytime we're posed with a question, we don't sit with ourselves and think. We just go to technology, and everything is given to us so quickly, so quickly. We don't think. We expect things to come quick. You know what I mean? And I believe this is what is hurting us. I believe this is what is hurting us, and this is why I think it comes across uh, whenever and I've heard this from a number of people, but this person included. He goes to several other countries in Europe, and then you hear Americans talk, and they come across as dumb. Obviously, not all Americans, but a lot of them do. They don't think, and I'll give a I'll give, oh my, there's so many examples that I have. I remember when I was living in Germany, and I was with a German, and then I was with an American in the car, and we were talking about American football, NFL, and the German set a position, a defensive position of a specific player. I forgot what team it was, but he mentioned a specific position, and then I asked what uh, what part of the field does that position cover? All the defensive players. Can you let me know what part of the field they're on before uh, the quarterback received the ball from the hut? And he said, "Are you gay?" And then the German was like, "What? What the hell are you talking about?" And I was talking to this guy, and it's like statements like that is where you see this statement being true. Where and I don't know exactly what it is, but what this person was thinking is that I live a lifestyle, and what I do is right. What I do is correct. The world revolves around me. And when I say me, I mean being an American. So my perspective is the right perspective. And anyone else that doesn't know or understand my perspective is an idiot. And this is what Americans commonly believe. And I believe this moment exemplified because a German was able to see that, but an American was not able to see that. So what it is I believe and this is where I'm going into my point. What I believe is it's inability of Americans to critically think and analyze something from a different perspective and to critically analyze what they are currently doing to see if it is actually correct as opposed to merely just going through the process, but to critically analyze what you are doing, to critically analyze what you are saying, and this constant ongoing process of, of analyzation. Because in America, again, I can't pinpoint it exactly, but we we just think that what we're doing is right because we're Americans. Like because we're American and we have our free speech, what I say is right. What I say makes sense. And if you don't believe like that, you're dumb. Because we're looking at things short term, it limits our ability to critically analyze because we're always looking at things on a 3 to 6 months to a 1 year basis, and we're not looking at things on a 5 to 10 year basis. And when you look at things in a longer term basis, there is much more critical analyzing you have to do, and many more factors that you have to consider before you come to the conclude or to the result that you want to. So if you're judging something from 1 week, you don't have to analyze as many things as you do compared to if you have to do something for 1 month. You have to analyze more things, put more factors are going into the situation that you're analyzing versus 1 year, etc., versus 10 years. And on this statement that he said Americans are dumb, I asked him, why do you think that? And he mentioned a study. And then he said, I saw some study where Americans were number one in confidence, but 15th in math. So there is a test called the PISA, and it measures scores or results of students from a number of countries all over the world. All right, so this is just the beginning, and this is the conclusion that it came from within the study. That's a conclusion one can draw from PISA's analysis of its data. This is true at the system level. At the system level, the greater the fear of failure expressed by students, the higher the reading scores in that education system. And then it also says, it is also true with systems. In a majority of school systems, students expressed a greater fear of failure, scored higher in reading than students expressing less concern about failing after accounting for the socioeconomic profile of students in schools. And it says, moreover, self-efficacy or self-confidence, the opposite of fear of failure, does not seem to lead to better academic performance according to PISA's analysis. So here it is. In other words, self-efficacy has little positive relationship with PISA reading performance in high-scoring systems. And in extremely high-performing systems of Beijing, Shanghai, Jiangsu, and Zhejiang, China, the relationship is negative. That is, for Chinese students, the lower their confidence, the higher the test scores. This same is true for students in Japan, another high-performing system. Moreover, students who agreed that their belief in themselves gets them through hard times scored considerably lower than students who disagreed with this statement. I looked also at another article, and then it says, putting the two lists together, and the two lists I'll show you. The two lists are perceived entrepreneurship capabilities and then PISA scores. So putting the two lists together reveals that countries with higher PISA scores have fewer people who are confident in their entrepreneurial capabilities. So in this table here, you will see red is the actual math scores of the students, the PISA, that's the red. So the higher the red, the higher your score. And then blue is the perceived entrepreneurial capabilities. That's blue. It's perceived, it's not tested. So here you have United States is second of all these countries. Their perceived entrepreneurial capability is second, but their PISA math scores is right here. It is about 15. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So they're 18 in PISA math. This was in 2009. So they're 18 in PISA math, but at the same time, they're second, very close first in terms of perceived entrepreneurial capability. And then we go to in the outside of math. Okay, so it's science, mathematics, and reading. So here you can see it's science, mathematics, reading, and then we have there's several countries, and the yellow dots are the countries participating in the study. So here is first, and then US in reading is about right here, and then in math they're even further behind, and then in science they're behind here. And then this is another study. It says the trends in international mathematics and science study, known as the TIMSS, has helped students in grades 4 and 8 every 4 years since 1995. And then here again, you have science, mathematics, and reading. And then you have all these countries here. US, so the top is first. All these countries are ahead of US. All these countries are ahead of US in reading. In mathematics, it's so US is so far behind I have to scroll. And that's where US is in math. And I remember watching a video on youth soccer, and a coach, Romeo Jozak is his name. Or he's not a coach, he's an academy director. Romeo Jozak was the academy director. I don't remember the name right now. You can look him up though. Romeo Jozak, Romeojozak, academy director for the club that is responsible, and this was years ago, responsible for players such as Luka Modric, Kovacic, Mandzukic, all players who played at the highest level possible. There's no higher level you can go. Keep in mind, Croatia is a population with less than 4 million people. And he gave such a good statement on the development of US. And he mentioned the development of Croatia. And he mentioned something about what it takes, part of what it takes in order to develop a top team or top players. And he mentioned that one of the ingredients is competition, that you need high competition among youth players in order to bring out the best in them, in order to keep challenging them. There has to be this high competition, because if someone is too dominant for too long, they are not able to continually grow for a number of reasons. Part of it is because they're not challenged, so they don't know what they need to work on, that they have uh, a perception that they're already good and they don't need to work on anything. That describes the American country, the American people. We're so high up and we've been there for so long that everything we do is amazing. And any going and no other country is better at us than anything. So we don't even have to think anymore. And that's how it is with a player at the youth level who's not challenged. Then all of a sudden, at some moment, you meet someone who is so much better, and you don't even know what to do. You've been shocked, and this is why competition is good. And then I saw in the YouTube comment someone from California, uh, based on their comment, but they said we have MLS next. we're competitive. The competition is there. Looks like we're gonna win the World Cup within the next 10 to 20 years. Like just a statement like that. Like you're just taking one thing and then saying, "Oh, that's us. That's us. We're gonna win it. We're gonna win it. We're gonna win the World Cup because we're competitive and we're MLS next. MLS next is competitive." Like how simplistic is that? You're gonna ignore everything else that he just said. You're gonna look at one thing. You're not gonna look at the hundreds of other things that it takes to get to the next level. You think just because you're in America that you're just blessed, even though there's no evidence to show that being in MLS next is going to win you a World Cup. And you just think, oh, we're competitive. MLS next. Here comes the World Cup. 10 years. We're winning it. Just wait to see where these kids are in 10 years. Like the ignorance of that statement. I remember like in the 90s, not, US went 94. I don't remember how far they went, but they got him a knockout saying, "Oh, we're winning the World Cup in 20 years. In 20 years, imagine if we're here in 94. In 20 years, we're going to win the World Cup." Look where we are now. 2008, 2018, we didn't even qualify. You know what I mean? It's just things like it's just statements like that. I mean, and to further go on, you look at examples like the U.S. national team when they hired Klinsman, and now they got this new coach from Tottenham. I don't remember his name, but they think, oh, USA, we're gonna win the World Cup. We can win it. We got the coach. Oh, now we're definitely gonna win it. Now we got a coach, but you're not gonna look at the fact that you don't have the quality players to win it. That you can't just pick a coach and then just win a World Cup. You're gonna try and skip the 10 to 20 years it takes to develop top players, and you think because you got a coach that it's gonna fix all those problems with the shortcut. That's the shortcut mentality that Americans want, and that right there is preventing us. Whatever you see, the problems that are prevalent in the youth culture, you're seeing it now with the national team. Oh, let's just hire a coach and let's just win the World Cup. Like the World Cup is in a year to 2 years, and you think just you're just gonna skip the whole 10 to 20 year development process uh, of players, and you think a coach is just gonna help you win the World Cup? Like that's insane, man. That is exactly what I'm talking about, and it's this thing within America where we live in a country where you can get success so quickly. And we hear these stories after story. We hear this over and over through social media, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. These people who get this amazing follower count, amazing success, overnight stories. And that's what we think. We've been fed that so much. And we see it so often that we think that's the reality. So when it doesn't, so that's and we can take these shortcuts uh, and skip a 10 to 20 year process of developing top players, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. That right there is preventing us. All those problems is preventing us from developing top players. We don't want to take the and you go back when this guy that I spoke with, he said Americans want the 1, 2, 3 simple steps. They want the easy steps. I mean, and I even went to give an example um, of what I was talking about, and maybe this is unfair. How to become a millionaire, step by step guide. Um, a millionaire in 12 years, 7 steps that can make you a millionaire in 12 years. 7 steps. If you want to be a millionaire before 30, you know what I mean? If I wanted to become a millionaire in 2025, how to become a millionaire step by step. How I made $3 million in 6 months as a 20-year-old female entrepreneur, $18 million at 18, 12 months to $1 million. Here's a book too. The one thing is the title of the book. The surprisingly simple truth behind extraordinary results. So any that says anything in which there is uncertainty, we don't want anything to do with it. And going back to this Romeo Jozak, the Academy director, not only did he say development is a long year process, he said to have the chance to maybe become a pro.
Because we cannot forget that to develop a player, it takes 10 to 15 years. Not many people are going to have the patience, nor time, nor organization, as you know well, to wait for 10 to 15 years to develop a player. Because you have a talented guy who is 7, he has to be 20 one day, and that's 13 years. So 13 years, you have to be really working smart every single day for him to maybe making it. Maybe, not surely, maybe.
Maybe. Even through that top process, you might. So it's not even certain because there's so many other factors at play. And this is an academy director who has worked in a process and shown proof of developing top players at a high level in a population of less than 4 million. And when you consider the one club that they have, that's far less than 4 million, but they've developed that many top players in that short a time. And he said, you might have a chance. You might. But in America, we think, oh, coach, oh, MLS next, we're going to have top players. Oh, we're going to win the World Cup. And I want to now bring this all to a close, how this plays into our inability to produce top players. So we must understand that even when you at the surface have everything that you need to develop a top player, you cannot automatically assume that you're just gonna develop top players, because building a top player is hard. It is hard. Of all the people that want to go pro, of all the people that are pro, a very small number of people reach those top leagues. Of all the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of leagues and the thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of soccer players, there is England, there is Spain, there is Italy, let's say France, Germany. Those are 5 countries. And keep in mind that it's most likely that in these countries, the majority of players in those leagues will be from that country. Let's just keep that in mind, the majority of those players. Keep in mind that these players are looking for the best players all over the world. But we as Americans think, oh yeah, we're just gonna develop top talent and win the World Cup. Not even like take that whole thing into consideration. And then we as Americans are trying to fight for those spots and develop players at that level in that small category of top leagues. So we have to realize the difficulty of this. This is extremely, extremely difficult to develop players at that level. It is so hard. And so we have to realize this. So when we realize this does something for us. One is we can look at where we are honestly. Honestly, we can look at where we are and then look at the gap between the players that play at that level and then our current players who have grown up through the U.S. system. So having Americans that didn't go through the U.S. system or only went through the U.S. system halfway doesn't count. Because a lot of those American players that you see on the national team aren't even American in the sense that they didn't grow up in America. They didn't play in America. They developed elsewhere. Many of those players, they were born in America. They stayed here when they were young, but they were teenagers or younger. They left. So that's not the American development system. That's another. We got to look at that. We got to stop saying, "Oh, uh, a just because he's on a national team, that's a product of our environment. It's not. That's a product of a European environment that got those players to that level. Um, so we can't give ourselves all the credit. And then secondly, look at the number of those players of the whole population of America, and look at of the whole population in America. Even given those circumstances, how many do we have playing at the highest level consistently? And what this does is when we take these things into consideration, we can do a few things. One is we can honestly critique where we are and the gap that we have to climb. Two, we can look long term and we could say, based off of what we have been doing for the last 20, 30 years, has it been working or do we need to change? And a case in point, stop looking at these trophies that kids are winning at 10 to 12 years old, because we've been doing this for 20 years and look at the results. They're not there. So apparently what we're doing isn't important. So we need to start emphasizing different things. Different. Uh, Another thing we can also do is we have to realize, or we have to think, what is important at that level. What traits do those players have that we need to develop at the youth level? So when we do that, we know that trophies, it has nothing to do with that. And when we do that, we analyze ourselves constantly. It's a constant process, and we're not caught up in these short-term results. All right. So that helps us whenever we're able to be honest with ourselves. And then another thing, patience, 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 patience. And this goes against our American society. And you hear it so often, and you hear it in business. It's so crazy in American businesses and influencers and all that stuff, the TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, you need to see results fast. If you've been doing something and you haven't seen results in 6 months, quit and do something else. I've heard that before. It's one thing to change what you're doing, but I've heard some people, oh, if you're not making money in this business in 6 months, you should quit and do something else. And I'm not saying that doesn't make sense in business. I'm just saying we hear it all the time to where it becomes, we apply that to soccer. And I'll give you a point on this. I had a kid that I coached. Uh, I think he was 8 years old, 9 years old at the time, maybe 9 years old. And he came from a team, and he lost his confidence was shot. So he came to my team. I believe it was around 4 months, 3 to 4 months down the line, a coach from another team within our club said, "Hey, that kid is really getting good." And then a few months later, the dad comes to me, says, "We're leaving because I just don't see the development." It's been 6 months, and he's like, "I just don't see it." And I'm like, I just had a coach that I didn't even go to. He came to me and he said, "Your kid has been improving." And I don't know what people are expecting in 6 months. They're expecting like Maradona, um, and he works at a marketing company. So marketing, you got to see results quick. You got to see the development quick. You got to see the results quick. And we see that all the time. So that hurts us. And as coaches, if whenever we are given a methodology, but if we don't see results in 3 to 6 months, we don't see the winning, we don't see the habits changing consistently, we're abandoning, and we're going back to that easy thing of, well, let's just do whatever we get wins right now. Let's just work on our formation, the tactics, a little bit of this and that. Let's be disciplined and let's get some wins. You know what I mean? So it's things like that, man. You gotta work. You gotta be so patient, man. You gotta be so patient. And our culture is working against us. The American culture is working against Americans to produce top quality players. The culture is working against us. So that's why it is so hard. And then another point too that he said uh, on American parents paying so much money that they want to see quick results is you're paying $3,000 to $6,000 at the select level, and you're not seeing your kid winning games, and uh, a year down the line, it doesn't look like anything's happening because your only judgment of success is wins. So when you're not getting that, you're gonna leave teams and go to a team that wins. I mean, I've had so many players, so many good players just leave um, because of this. Four players on one team. Players that when they came, they were at the bottom, and then when they left, they were at the top of the team. Top players, top teams wanted them. They don't even see that, and then they just left. But our team, they went to teams that were winning more, not necessarily better teams. And I always say this whenever people talk to me about top teams, I'm like, is it a competitive team or is it a good team? Because at the youth level, you can be competitive, but it doesn't mean you're doing the right things that are going to lead you in the long term road. But anyways, I think this video is important for me anyway. I wanted to do this for maybe one coach who is able to look at this and realize that we need to change our approach. We need to change our approach in terms of development. And I want to do all I can with the little that I have so that US can become a country where we're developing top talent consistently. Not once in a blue moon, not we're hoping to, but where we can do it consistently with this number of with the number of players that we have in this country playing and the population. I don't have all the answers, but I'm doing this because ultimately I would like to create a community of coaches that want the same goal and that are willing to share what they know so that we can share together and have success as a country, not by keeping things a secret, but by sharing things, because I don't think any of us has all the answers. Just show me an American who can say, "Oh yeah, I have all the answers." Show me your players that you produced. We don't have that. No American can say that. So you don't have all the answers. I don't care if you've been coaching 10, 20 years. You want to keep your little secrets, but you don't have the proof showing the top quality players consistently. So I want to share this information, share the little that I have, and see what happens with the U.S. youth system. Because for me, a win is not having my little club team be national champions. How many national champions in America have become top players in Europe? Let's look at every single player that won the national championship in America, and let's see how many of those players are playing at the highest level in Europe in the whole history. That's why as a coach, I don't care about this. It's not a win. The national championship is not a win for me. But we got coaches in America who are winning national championships and they think they're so great. So they want to keep their secrets and they don't want to share what they know with other coaches because for them, they want to keep their national championship and they don't want to give up the secrets. But when you look at what those players have done at the next level, at the highest level, they're non-existent. So for me, the true win is how many top players can we develop and produce at the highest level in Europe, the highest level in the game. So I'm not here to share secrets. I'm not here to or I'm not here to keep secrets. I'm here to share everything I know, everything I have, and I hope to someday create a community so we can get to this level. That's it today on EvoToca. Stay tuned.